Have you ever wondered how a single chance encounter can turn your whole life upside down? I have. It all started at 30,000 feet, when I, an ordinary girl named Anna, ran into the most audacious and charming stranger in business class. Back then I couldn't have imagined that this man would become my boss, and that ahead of us awaited not just an office romance, but a real storm of passion, intrigue, and luxury. Ready to find out how it all really happened? Then listen up. Love in the clouds. I always considered myself someone who keeps everything under control. Even when life throws surprises my way, I prefer to meet them with a smile and a strong cup of coffee. But on the day I was flying to London for my first serious business trip, fate decided to test my resilience. The airport was like a beehive. People rushing, suitcases rolling across the marble floor, flight announcements blending into a constant hum. I was nervously checking my boarding pass when someone literally bumped into me, almost making me drop my favorite tablet. "Sorry," came a man's voice with a hint of a smile. "I usually don't attack women before 8 in the morning." I looked up and saw a tall man with a mischievous smile and a bold gaze. His suit clearly cost more than my monthly salary, and he was holding a cup of coffee that, miraculously, hadn't spilled. "Then I'm lucky it's 5 to 8, I replied, trying not to show my embarrassment. He laughed, and I caught myself thinking his laughter was infectious. "Tyler," he introduced himself, extending his hand. "Anna," I replied, shaking his hand. It was warm and confident. We parted ways, but as it turned out, not for long. 20 minutes later, I discovered my ticket was for business class. The company decided not to skimp on first impressions for the new employee. I sat by the window, enjoying the view of the runway and the soft seat, when a familiar voice sounded next to me. "Do you mind?" I turned, and of course it was Tyler. He settled in beside me, looking like he owned the entire plane. "Only if you don't order tomato juice and start bragging about your business achievements," I joked. "What if I tell you about my failures?" He winked. "Then I'll order champagne," I shot back. We both laughed. Tyler turned out to be a great conversationalist, witty, easygoing, with a special charm that made me forget my nerves about the business trip. "Do you fly often?" I asked as the plane reached cruising altitude. "Sometimes it feels like I live in the sky," he replied. "But today's flight is special." "Why?" I asked, surprised. "Because I met you," he said so sincerely that I couldn't help but smile. At that moment I had no idea this meeting would change my life. Tyler got comfortable, leaned back in his seat, and looked at me with a smile. "So Anna, tell me, where are you headed?" he asked, taking a sip of coffee. "To London for work," I replied, trying not to show my nerves. "My first serious business trip. I want to impress my new boss." "Oh, so you're a career woman," he teased. "More of a survivor," I laughed. "These days, there's no other way." Tyler nodded, as if agreeing with my life motto. "And you?" I asked. "Also for work." "You could say that," he answered evasively, smiling mysteriously. At that moment, the flight attendant brought us breakfast. I looked in surprise at the miniature croissants, fresh berries, and tiny jars of jam. Everything looked so luxurious that I couldn't help but feel like the heroine of a novel. "All that's missing are golden spoons," I joked. "Just wait, this is only the beginning," Tyler winked. "Business class knows how to impress." We chatted about everything: travel, favorite movies, funny work stories. Tyler was not only witty but also a great listener. His jokes were so on point that I laughed wholeheartedly. "Are you always this good at connecting with strangers?" I asked when the conversation turned to chance encounters. "Only if those strangers can keep up with my jokes," he replied, looking me straight in the eyes. I felt my cheeks flush. For the first time in a long while, I felt truly at ease and happy. The flight passed in a flash. Clouds drifted by outside the window, and inside the cabin, there was an atmosphere of comfort and light intrigue. I caught myself wishing the flight wouldn't end. As the plane began its descent, Tyler suddenly became more serious. You know, Anna, sometimes the most unexpected meetings turn out to be the most important, he said quietly. I didn't have time to answer. The flight attendant asked us to fasten our seatbelts. We exchanged glances that held more than just the politeness of fellow travelers. At the exit, Tyler lingered for a second. Good luck at your new job, Anna, he said. I'm sure you'll do great. Thank you, I smiled. And good luck to you wherever you work. We went our separate ways, not knowing that very soon our paths would cross again, under very different circumstances. I always thought the first day at a new job was like jumping out of a plane. Scary, exciting, and there's no turning back. The office I was sent to was the epitome of luxury. Marble floors, panoramic windows, designer furniture. A coffee machine that made perfect lattes. I felt like the star of a TV show about successful women, but inside I was a bundle of nerves. Welcome, Anna, greeted a smiling woman from HR. Your office is on the 5th floor and now you'll meet your manager. I nodded, trying to look confident, though my palms were sweaty. We took the elevator and I kept repeating to myself, just don't embarrass yourself. In my mind, I pictured a strict boss. Gray-haired, glasses, cold stare, a folder of papers. The door opened and I entered a spacious office. Behind a huge desk sat a man in an expensive suit, with a laptop and a cup of coffee. He looked up, and I almost dropped my folder. It was Tyler. He was clearly surprised too, but quickly composed himself and smiled his signature smile. Anna? He asked, as if not believing his eyes. Tyler. I breathed, feeling my cheeks flush. There was a pause, but Tyler quickly broke the tension. Well, this is truly unexpected. Please have a seat. He gestured to the chair opposite. I sat down, trying not to look him in the eye. My mind was racing. Is this a joke? Is fate playing tricks on me? I didn't think our meeting in the sky would continue so soon on the ground, Tyler said, a laugh in his voice. Me neither, I admitted, finally smiling. He opened my resume folder and, pretending to read, asked, So, Anna, ready to reach new heights? As long as you don't start talking about your failures. I winked, recalling our joke on the plane. Tyler laughed and the tension eased a bit. We quickly moved on to work matters, but in every glance, I caught a spark of that same light flirtation we'd shared in the air. Leaving his office, I couldn't help but smile. Fate had clearly decided to give me a real adventure, and it seemed it was just beginning. The next workday started with the usual hustle. Calls, meetings, endless project discussions. I tried to focus, but my thoughts kept drifting back to my encounter with Tyler. He was not only a professional but had a special charm that was hard to ignore. Inside, everything was boiling, and at the same time I tried to keep myself together. Anna, please have that report ready by lunch, Tyler said, smiling, then added with a playful grin. Or maybe I'll bring it myself. That way I'll have another chance to see you. I blushed slightly, scolding myself for my awkward reaction. My inner voice whispered, So what if he noticed your nerves? Maybe he feels the spark too. Of course, I'll have everything ready by lunch, I replied, trying to sound confident. During my coffee break, I bumped into a colleague in the hallway, who, noticing my flustered look, smiled. Oh, Anna, you seem to be in a special mood today. Or is it just the magic of the new boss? I smiled back, but inside, emotions were still swirling. At that moment, Tyler appeared, holding 2 cups of coffee. Here you go. He handed me one. Hope this helps with the stress. My heart beat faster and I thought to myself, he's not just a professional, he knows how to give compliments. Maybe things aren't so bad after all. Lunch was relaxed. At the table, Tyler decided to joke. You know, Anna, I've noticed you have a talent for turning any awkward situation into a funny one. That's a rare quality. I laughed. Back in the office, we continued working. From time to time, there were brief glances between us, full of hidden affection. One moment, as Tyler passed my desk, he suddenly stopped and said, Anna, have you ever thought about coming to the company party this Friday? There are always lots of interesting people and unexpected situations. I smiled, feeling a spark ignite inside. Of course, I'll think about it, I replied, trying to keep my composure. Friday came faster than I expected. All day, I caught myself looking forward to the evening with a childlike excitement. The company party was held in a luxurious restaurant with panoramic windows overlooking the night city. I chose an elegant dress, trying to look confident, though inside I was trembling. Tyler met me at the entrance, and his gaze lingered on me a little longer than usual. Anna, you're absolutely glowing tonight, he said, and I felt my cheeks flush. The evening was filled with laughter, light flirting, and jokes. Colleagues discussed the latest news. Some shared funny stories from office life. I felt like part of the team, but still found myself looking for Tyler in the crowd. At one point, Zoe joined us. An elegant, confident woman with a bright smile. She immediately drew everyone's attention, especially Tyler's. I noticed how she tried to keep the conversation going with him, sometimes even interrupting others, and how her eyes sparkled when she looked at him. I tried not to pay attention, but inside I felt a twinge of jealousy. Tyler seemed to notice and when we were alone, quietly said, "Don't mind Zoe. She always likes to be the center of attention." I smiled, trying to hide my feelings. "And you? Do you like being the center of attention?" I teased him. "Only if there's someone nearby who makes it worthwhile," he replied. And there was that same sincerity in his voice that always won me over. The evening was coming to an end when Tyler suddenly leaned toward me and quietly said, "You know, Anna, sometimes I feel like tonight is the beginning of something special. I hope you feel the same." I looked at him and smiled. In that moment I realized everything was just beginning. The next morning, I woke up with a sense of light euphoria and anxiety at the same time. Fragments of last night's conversation spun in my head, especially Zoe's glances at Tyler and me. I tried to convince myself it was just a game, but inside, a spark of jealousy and doubt was already growing. The workday began in the usual luxurious atmosphere. A bright office, the aroma of fresh coffee, business conversations. I tried to focus on my tasks, but my thoughts kept returning to Tyler. His sincerity, easy humor, and support wouldn't leave my mind. In the middle of the day, one of the company directors, Mr. Vlasov, approached me with a smile and said, "Anna, I have good news for you. We value your contribution to the project and want to offer you a promotion. But there's one condition: you'd need to transfer to another city, to our branch there. New opportunities await you." I froze. This was a chance for career growth, but also a risk of losing everything that had become so dear to me, including Tyler. That evening, as I returned home, my thoughts wouldn't let me rest. I sat in my cozy apartment, looking out at the city lights, trying to understand what I really wanted. At that moment, my phone rang. Tyler's number appeared on the screen. "Anna." His voice was warm and a little nervous. "I wanted to talk. I feel like there's something between us, and I don't want to lose it. But I noticed you seemed a bit distant today. Is everything okay?" I sighed and, smiling through a touch of sadness, replied, I was offered a transfer to another city today. It's a chance but also a big risk. I don't know what to do. He laughed softly. Well, let's look at it with some humor. Imagine now I'll be your city colleague, not just your office neighbor. But seriously, I'm ready to support you, no matter what you choose. In that moment I realized, sometimes fate gives us challenges so that we finally dare to be happy. The next day, I woke up with the feeling that my heart was beating in time with the anticipation of change. Thoughts about the promotion and the decision I had to make spun in my head. The desire to move forward fought with the fear of losing what had become most important to me. My feelings for Tyler. That evening Tyler called me again. Anna, I have an idea, he began, his voice light. How about spending this evening together? I have a special country house and I'd like to invite you there. We can talk without any formalities. What do you say? I hesitated a little, but inside I felt my heart beat faster. This was a chance, not only for an honest conversation, but also to understand what truly mattered to me. All right, I replied, trying to hide my excitement. When I arrived, a picturesque landscape unfolded outside the window. Green hills, a quiet pond, and a cozy house lit by soft lanterns. Inside, everything felt homey. A fireplace, soft armchairs, and a light scent of vanilla. Tyler greeted me with a warm smile. I'm glad you came, he said, standing up and reaching out his hand. Tonight, we can just be ourselves. The evening began with jokes and light conversation, but soon the atmosphere became more sincere. Tyler, sitting next to me, looked me straight in the eyes. Anna, I want to tell you something. Over these days, I've realized that you're not just a colleague or an inspiration to me. You're the person I want to share not only work with but my life. And I don't want our feelings to stay just in the office or at company parties. I want to be with you. I felt my breath catch. Inside, everything tightened with excitement and hope. I looked at him, trying to understand what to do next. Tyler, I said quietly, I feel there's something special between us too. But I've been offered a promotion and it could change everything. I have to choose. Leave and continue my career or stay for us. He smiled and winking said, what if I told you I have an idea that could combine both options? Imagine us together, and you can keep growing professionally while staying close to me. Or if you decide to leave, I'll support you and wait for you to return. The most important thing is for you to be happy. I felt warmth and determination fill me. In that moment, I realized my heart had already made its choice. Tyler, I said firmly, I've decided to stay. He smiled, and hope and love shone in his eyes. The next day, after I decided to stay with Tyler, a real storm broke out in the office. Colleagues, noticing my confidence and calm, started whispering and making guesses. Some called me brave, others reckless. But for the first time in a long while, I felt truly happy and free. During lunch, I decided to have an honest talk with Tyler. We met in his office, where the city stretched out behind panoramic windows, and 2 cups of coffee sat on the table. Tyler, I began, smiling a little shyly, I think we need to talk honestly. Not just about the past but about the future. What do you really want? He looked at me, his eyes shining with sincerity and warmth. I want us to be honest with each other, and for our feelings to not be afraid of any obstacles. I'm ready to go anywhere with you, even if it means facing any intrigue or challenge. And what about work? I smiled. You know, in our office, gossip is like air. Even the coffee seemed suspicious. He laughed. Then let's do this. I promise to be honest and you trust me. And by the way, I've prepared something special for you. What is it? I asked, intrigued. He took a small box from his pocket and handed it to me. Open it. I carefully opened the box and saw a delicate diamond ring. Tears sparkled in my eyes. "Is this a proposal?" I whispered. Tyler smiled, his voice soft and sincere. "Anna, I want to spend my whole life with you. You are my luxury, my joy, my hope. Let's make it official. Will you marry me?" At that moment, colleagues entered the office. Noticing the unusual scene, they started applauding and someone even winked. "Well," I said, laughing through tears, "you really surprised me." The whole office filled with a joyful atmosphere, and even the most skeptical colleagues couldn't hide their smiles. Surrounded by the sparkle of chandeliers and expensive paintings, Tyler and I felt our bond grow even stronger. After work, under the twinkling city lights, Tyler took my hand. "You know," he said, "sometimes the most unexpected decisions change everything. And I'm sure that together we can handle anything that comes our way." I accepted Tyler's proposal with excitement. In our eyes burned the fire of hope and determination, and our hearts were filled with warmth and confidence. A year passed. On the brightest and warmest evening of the summer, Tyler and I decided to celebrate a new chapter in our lives. We organized a luxurious party in an exclusive hall with a panoramic view of the city, inviting friends, colleagues, and loved ones. The air was filled with joy, laughter, and anticipation for the future. At the entrance, guests were greeted by bright garlands and floral arches, and inside, elegant decor, candles, and live music. I wore an elegant dress, Tyler, a classic suit. We both radiated happiness and confidence. "Dear friends," Tyler began, raising his glass, "today we want to thank you for your support, for believing in us, and for sharing this special moment with us. Over the past year we've been through a lot, and without you, none of this would have been possible." I smiled and continued, "We want to share our plans for the future. Very soon we'll be launching a new project together, one that will unite our ideas and dreams. It won't just be a business, but our shared passion and contribution to growth. We're confident that together, we can achieve great things." The guests applauded, and the room filled with genuine laughter. Tyler and I exchanged glances full of love and determination. And most importantly, I added, "For us, the greatest thing is to be together, to support and inspire each other. Let this evening be the start of new achievements and happy moments." The night was filled with cheerful conversations, dancing, and toasts. We not only reflected on the past but also shared funny stories, remembered tough times, and thanked fate for bringing us together. When the guests began to leave, Tyler and I were left alone on the balcony, looking out over the city lights. "You know," he said, "I never thought I could love and be loved this much. Thank you for everything." "And I'm grateful for you," I replied, leaning into him. "Together, we're a team that can do anything." In that moment I realized, our journey was only beginning, and ahead of us were new heights and happy days. This story shows that sometimes it's the most unexpected encounters that change our destiny forever. Life is so unpredictable. We can walk the same familiar path, expecting nothing special, and suddenly, a meeting turns everything upside down. Love and happiness often come to us unexpectedly, if we're open to the world and unafraid of change. The most important thing is to be ready to accept them, to trust fate, and to move toward new opportunities. Because it's in openness and courage that true miracles are born. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more captivating audio tales, please leave a comment about your thoughts on chance encounters, and subscribe to our channel. There are many more inspiring stories ahead that will give you hope for the best. Thank you for being with us.